What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Caffeine Punk. Today, we are talking to Chris May, who up until very recently was known as Cheeto Bandito, the bass player for the infamous Queers, one of the greatest punk bands of all time. He recently stepped down as bass player, so we'll talk to him about that and talk to him about how he got started with the Queers, some of his best memories, and his decision to step down. He's also part of Atlanta-based punk band The Hanging Judge. So we'll talk to him about that, and I'm pretty sure he owns a printing press company that he, for merch and stuff. So not sure if he still runs that, but we'll talk to him about that as well. So Chris May, Cheeto Bandito, coming up, having coffee with the Caffeine Punk. But first, this episode of Coffee with the Caffeine Punk is brought to you by Punk Rock Joe Coffee. If you like great coffee and punk rock, head over to punkrockjoe.com and get yourself caffeinated. If you like dark roast, you'll like it. If you don't like dark roast, you'll still like it because it's on the lighter end of the dark roast. So Punk Rock Joe, that's punkrockjoe.com for your bag of awesome coffee. Get yourself caffeinated and all that good stuff. So Chris May is coming up in a second. So, but first, give me coffee.
Give me coffee, I want coffee flowing through my veins. Give me coffee, I want coffee before I go insane. Give me coffee, I want coffee always in my head. Give me coffee, I want coffee till I'm fucking dead. I want coffee right now. I want coffee right now.
How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Cool. So this is Chris May, who, like I said, I did a little intro before, most recently known as Cheeto Bandito from the Queers. And you recently stepped down as bass player. So I just wanted to kind of, first of all, promote and plug everything you have going on before we get started.
Okay, yeah. So I play in another band called The Hanging Judge here in Atlanta. That's actually how I met Joe, recording in his studio. But we have a new album coming out. It's actually completed. We got it mastered and everything. And Joe produced it, recorded it. So now we're just, in the final stages, getting artwork together and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got that going on. And, I have a screen printing company, as you know, called Vulture Press.
Mm-hmm.
And we do merch mainly for bands, but pretty much, for whoever kind of comes our way. But we've done stuff for like the Dickies and the Ataris, the Queers, of course.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what I got going on these days.
Cool, man. So what all went into your decision to step down from playing bass with the Queers? Just business stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that was a hard one. It was a hard one because I love playing, and I love traveling. But I've been kind of weighing it over, and I just got recently married, a little over a year ago. And my wife has to handle everything when she's home. So, that and just the business and everything.
Right.
I had a good run, it was about 5 years. Had a good run, got to see the world. So, never thought I'd be playing with the Queers, but it was awesome. Loved every minute of it.
Awesome. So how did it start? Like you said, with Joe recording your other band?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like that, I've seen Joe around Atlanta, and my friend Richard, the singer of The Hanging Judge, he knew Joe a little better, and he's like, oh yeah, he's got this studio. We were trying to get a track for a comp together, so we went over there, and we just had a chorus. We just had a kind of a working chorus, and we were like, well, Joe's like, well, come on over, and we'll just throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. And so we did. We came out with the song. It's called 9 to 5. And it took like about 2 hours. And Joe was pretty impressed at how it all kind of came together, how well, everything kind of just meshed.
Cool.
But that's how we met, in the studio. And he was mentioning something about, this was back, actually, I think I have the poster behind me, this one right here. The Agent Orange and Guttermouth tour back in, what year was that? 2017.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he, it was before that run, and he was talking about, I got to try this bass player out. I don't know if it's going to work out, but just kind of, talking and passing, in passing, I was like, well, hell, if you need a bass player, let me know, hit me up.
Yeah.
And, I actually play guitar in the other band, but,
okay.
A couple weeks later, he texted me out of the blue. He's like, would you be able to do, a 2-week run with Agent Orange and Guttermouth, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, I've played in bands since I was 13, but never toured at that level. So,
right.
That was a good opportunity. So yeah, I definitely jumped on that. And I was supposed to just do half of the tour, and then someone else was going to step on and do the rest. But I ended up doing the whole thing, and next thing you know, we're heading to Japan. So
Wow,
I just went from there.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's cool seeing the pictures of you in front of the Kremlin too, like in
Dude,
Moscow.
yeah.
That's fucking nuts, dude. Like,
Yeah.
what was that like? What was it like being over there?
Oh man, that was, I think, the most foreign I've ever felt.
Yeah, I would
the most
imagine.
out of place I've ever felt. But we played this killer show in Moscow. I mean, it was on from the first note that we played, and I mean, it was funny. They had these big, beefy, like security guys in suits that were standing at the stage,
Yeah,
And about 2 songs in, I mean, their jackets were being thrown everywhere. Like they're little. I mean, it was awesome. But
that's cool.
yeah, and so after the show, some of the local like the promoter and the opening bands, I think it was a band called Mighty Birds, but it was a group of guys. They're like, yeah, we want to take you around, and they just kind of wanted to show me the site. So I went down into the subway, and there's no way in hell I would have been able to find any of that shit myself. But yeah, it was cool, man. We rode the subway over to the Kremlin, to Red Square. It was snowing and everything, and that was before we took a night train over to St. Petersburg. And yeah, it was cool, man.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, because the Queers, I mean, Joe works his ass off.
He does, yeah.
Constantly touring. So I know you must have had some insane times. So that's awesome that you got to experience that for a while. So you were playing there for 5 years, you said, right?
Just about, yeah.
Was Hoglog already in the band?
Yeah, he's been in the band since I think 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was already in the band. And then Ginger kind of came along later.
Oh, right.
Yeah, let's see, I think maybe about a year and a half after I was in, he started as a roadie and then started, grabbing the guitar.
Yeah.
And now he's playing the full set. So
that's awesome. Yeah. What are some of your, like, if you look back on the 5 years and you think about the places you've been and kind of like the shows you played, what are a couple things that stick out in your head that you're like, maybe the Kremlin is one of them, but like, you know what I mean? A couple of the crazy memories.
Man, I would say playing at Punk Rock Raduno, that was fucking awesome, man. Like that was it was an insane show. It was the first show that we had in Europe. I think it was actually my very first European show.
Okay.
And yeah, so we got there. It's a little town called Bergamo. It's not little actually, but it's outside of Milan. And yeah, I mean, it was just, if you look on YouTube, the Queers Punk Rock Raduno, that was a really energetic show, and then CJ Ramon jumped up and grabbed the bass. And I mean, it was pretty surreal. Yeah, to have a guy like CJ playing my bass. I was just sitting there like, holy shit, man. This is awesome. But yeah, that was a great one. We played 2 nights in Tokyo. That was really cool. Just never, I never would have thought that I would ever get to go to Japan, much less, playing music. So, or any of these places really. So, but with the way the world is right now, it's definitely hard to travel as you.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So with the Hanging Judge, you have an album coming out, and you have one album already out. Is that right? Hang 'em High.
We have an EP. It's a crappy EP. It's not crappy. Well, it kind of is. We recorded it in a living room. It's just like a little 5-song EP.
Gotcha.
And that's all we have after 5 years. The Queers has kept me busy.
Yeah, totally.
It's been great because, I've been able to, put my band on some of the runs and, kind of, get some exposure that way. But it's also kept me away, from the band. So I haven't really been able to work on the Hanging Judge as much.
Yeah. What's the scene like in Atlanta?
It's good. We have, it's a weird scene because, I mean, there's pockets of, different genres. There's a big like street punk oi scene here. There's, it's like, rock and roll, like the Biters and bands like that. It was kind of strange. We played this show in Spain, the Queers. We played this show in Spain called, God, what was it called? It was like Fuzz Fest. And it was all these kind of, rock and roll bands, but it turned out like almost, 90% of the bands from Atlanta. So we had this other band called the Barracudas, Dino's Boys, I think. I don't know if they were on it, but all these kind of like, bands that I've seen on flyers and kind of seen around. Yeah. But it's just weird, like to have this Atlanta show in Spain. But
Yeah.
yes, we've got a great, rock and roll scene here, and it's metal, and just, pop punk, not so much. I mean, there's a couple bands, but not really. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah. So when we played, my band played with you guys, I think it was 2018 in Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah.
And I know, kind of transitioning into this other topic, I wanted to get your thoughts on. I remember there was like 3 protesters outside.
Oh yeah. I remember.
Yeah, and I run a record label, and I was working with Joe. We were trying to do like a split with the Accelerators from Jersey. But you guys are busy, and then I was busy, and then the pandemic happened, so it never panned out. But
yeah,
I remember I was working with a promoter, not a promoter of what's it called, like somebody who puts out, I don't know, like I can't think of the word right now, but somebody who promotes your shit, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and she was like, I was giving her a list of the upcoming stuff that I'm, the label's putting out. And she's like, well, I'm not going to help you with the queers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And she was like, what do you think of Joe Queer? I was like, I think he's rad. Like, I've met him, I've talked to him. He's like one of the nicest people I know. Yeah. And everybody who I know that actually knows Joe says the same thing. Like, he's very gracious and friendly and, whatever. But, yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, did you ever get any more things like that, like from Frederick, any more protests? Did you ever get any venues saying, no, we're not going to have you guys, or, stuff like that?
Not really. Occasionally there were things, on that, we went on a tour with Real Big Fish, and they paid us not to play one night. Actually, it was Disney.
Seriously?
Yeah, we were playing all these huge ass venues, like we were playing zoos and, the Fillmore, all these bigger venues.
Wow, yeah.
It's kind of weird. We were a little out of place on the tour, but it was fun. But anyway, down in Cape Canaveral, Disney, I guess it was supposed to be an outside show, near all the cruise liners.
Yeah.
And they paid us not to play. I don't know if it was from the name or they got wind of some of the song titles or what. But yeah, but we took the night off and just kind of, started in Miami. So, but aside from that, I mean, of course you see shit online and, comments and articles and stuff like that, talking about the controversy years back about Joe. But, in reality, none of these people, if they actually had a conversation with them, or just, he really is one of the nicest guys that I know. He would do anything to help his friends. And
totally.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but that's just the way things are today. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of got their own team, so to speak.
What do you think has happened to? I mean, it's when I was in the Navy for a while. I left kind of like I moved out to Hawaii and California, and I wasn't really paying attention to punk rock for a few years.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I noticed that everything was so fucking ultra PC, except for the Queers and Screeching Weasel, who happened to be 2 of my favorite bands anyway, before all of that stuff. And so I had a greater appreciation for you guys and Screeching Weasel just because of that. And it was like kind of like a safe haven. Like, these dudes are still punk rock. Like, what the fuck happens to it's fucking maddening.
Yeah, it beats me. It's crazy though. I mean, it's interesting to see. I mean, everybody's kind of got this packaged version of rebellion and what punk is supposed to be. And, it's supposed to be, punk rock to me is, it's supposed to be about questioning authority and thinking for yourself. Right. A lot of the people these days, it just doesn't seem, I mean, you've got these punk rockers that are agreeing with, the biggest corporations in the world, and the 5 companies that own the entire US media. It's something else, man. I was actually in the military too. I was in the Army.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught that Army Navy game the other day.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
But so it's very odd to see. But it's punk rock's just a microcosm of it, of what's happening, in society at large. So
right.
I don't know. It's an interesting time to be alive, that's for sure.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it annoyed me during the Trump administration, because I guess what annoyed me the most was people who were so anti-Trump, but then also so pro Hillary Clinton. And it drove me crazy that people actually saw that big of a difference between the two of them.
Right.
But then now with the COVID shit, it turned from me being annoyed to me being fucking like, it's mind blowing. It's just the amount of, like you said, if you say anything about Pfizer, you get shit on. If you say anything about Joe Biden, a fucking old white man who's president of the United States, like, are you serious? Like, punks can't say shit about him anymore. Like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on, and it's so fucking annoying.
I think it's just a stranglehold the media, has on the country. But I mean, look at the whole Hunter Biden thing. Like, that was a huge story. And the New York Post put out this story, and then the media ran with it and said, "Oh, it's Russian disinformation." And CNN, they all jumped on that and didn't. I think Trump tried to bring it up in the debates, but it was sidelined. But and then they made it, it was a conspiracy topic. But then turns out, it was a very real, legit thing that happened. The president's son was, dealing with these, foreign companies, and the president himself was profiting off it. But we can't. I mean, but it can't be talked about. And you don't see anybody like, I mean, everybody's quick to, have just to come out, like these shows like Punks Against Trump. I was kind of thinking, my mind kept going back to the Fat Records of the Bush years.
Remember? Oh yeah.
Bush and all that. But you don't hear these fucking guys talk, they don't say anything about, I mean, that's a huge thing, where's Fat Mike and all these guys talking about these things,
Right. But it's like these things, it's, Joe Biden did exactly what they were accusing Trump of doing when it came to quid pro quo. He's on video saying it.
Right.
Like fucking video saying the thing that they couldn't prove Trump did. And then his son with the Russia connection that's a legit Russia connection.
Yeah. And now it's come out that the whole Russia thing, that I guess the Russian collusion thing turned out to be bullshit.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. Yeah. But you can't even say that though. It's like
right, you're a Trump lover.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or whatever. So, it's sad to see though, it's sad to see the state of punk rock, and people just they don't question, they don't question authority at all,
Right.
It's become the most like chicken shit conformist fucking,
totally.
I hate to say it, but it's become that way.
No, it is. It's like, not only do they not question it, but they will, such bootlickers that they'll go after you for questioning it. It's like,
right, exactly.
So
you're a Nazi or this or that.
Yeah. I think what happened was, I think Trump was such a polarizing figure that the media and leftist politicians did such a good job in like portraying him as like literally Hitler, which people say literally Hitler. That now it's like, if you say anything about anybody else, they just assume you're for him and you're like the worst. But it's like, it's possible to dislike both of them. It's possible to point out how both of them are fucking up or fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like, but
and I thought 2020 election, I thought really that it would be the year of the third party, but it wasn't the case. Both figures are so polarizing that it just kind of pushed people to one camp or the other. And I've always kind of thought that, the Republicans and Democrats are like two gangs that run the country, two sides of the same coin. But for instance, like when you had George Bush running against Kerry back in 2004. Oh, there's my dog.
He said Kerry. He growled.
Yeah, there he is. Where's he at?
Awesome.
Okay. But yeah, John Kerry, they're both in the Skull and Bone Society at Yale. And I think they're both, that sounds totally crazy. Oh, they're in a secret society, and all this stuff. It turned out to be true. And they were both asked about it once during the entire election.
Yeah.
So, I kind of was disillusioned with politics early on because of all that kind of stuff.
Right.
How simple the candidates are. But I don't know. Then you have guys like Ron Paul and Tulsi Gabbard and people that do think for themselves. And, I don't know. I think that's admirable.
Yeah, I love Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, me too. She's great, and she's a Democrat, but she's not afraid to go on like Tucker Carlson or something. And you guys
exactly. Yeah.
Ron Paul. I remember talking to Keith Morris about, back in like 2008 and who he was looking at. And he was like, I like Ron Paul. I also like Jill Stein. And I forget who else was running. Yeah. I think it was a Gary Johnson guy. I don't remember. But, that was cool. I was like, all right, cool. This guy's not just jumping on the Democratic bandwagon or whatever.
Right. Yeah,
Crazy times, man.
it is. It is. But, you know, I have talked to a lot of people. I hung out with with Teenage Bottle Rocket a couple weeks ago when they came to Baltimore.
Nice.
And just talking to people at shows, I do sense that people are really getting fucking tired of this shit. Like the mask mandates and all this stuff. Like I think people are just afraid to admit it. But in conversations that I have with people, they're like fucking done, you know?
Right. And the alarming thing that we're seeing, I mean, if you look at countries like Australia, like what's going on now, it's scary.
Yeah.
For instance, they have I guess they have quarantine camps over there for the unvaccinated, and there was a nationwide manhunt for 3 people that escaped. And they're like pulling over cars and checking, you know, checkpoints and all this other stuff. They got their faces on the evening news. Turns out these are 3 kids, 15, 16, and 17 years old. You know, and like really going to turn the country upside down.
That's crazy.
Taking the fucking vaccine. And, you know, and now we're finding out that, you know, if you've had the damn virus, you know, I think it's like what in the 90s, the efficacy of, you know, protection that you have.
You're like 7 to 13 times more protected than if you just got the vaccine. Yeah.
So what's really going on here?
Exactly. But, especially now that once they determine that you can still get it and transmit it while vaccinated, that should have automatically done away with mandates. Because what's the fucking difference now?
Exactly. And then you got, you know, big tech platforms like Facebook, you know, kick you off if you didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so, but I mean, it's alarming what's happening in other countries, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before, you know, we start seeing that kind of stuff here. Look at New York.
Oh yeah.
Was on his way out, you know, and passed this thing last minute where 5-year-olds have to show their fucking Vax card to go.
Fucking ridiculous.
Or whatever. Yeah, man. So, you know, and there's no outrage. Where's the outrage, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's what I'm mind blown about. It's like, where is the outrage? Like, is it that you thought Trump was so evil that everybody else, you just assume that everything they're doing is good because it's not Trump?
That's,
you know?
What I think it is.
Yeah.
Really. So
yeah, it's fucked up.
If I think this way, that automatically puts me in the camp where, you know, someone might think I'm a Republican or, you know, a Democrat.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. You know, these people that you see walking in their neighborhoods, you know, outside with a mask on, they probably do that because, you know, they don't, I've heard people, I don't want to be mistaken for a Republican.
Right. It's all for, it's the biggest, like, it's the biggest group, signaling, virtue signaling, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's all the mask is now, you know. And I'll carry one in my pocket when I go into stores just in case there's some fucking pain in the ass that's gonna try to say something to me, you know what I mean? But like, it's all like, seeing people walking alone outside with a mask on, it's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
oh yeah, I see people all the time. It's weird. I live in Georgia. You wouldn't think that would be the case.
Yeah,
but Atlanta, you know, Decatur, these areas are, you know,
pretty blue.
You see a lot of yuppies walking around with masks.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad.
Oh well. But so what do you have coming up? Anything soon besides the record release or the record?
You know, no, and it's actually kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I've been kind of just enjoying, you know, being at home. We got this new dog,
awesome.
We're able to see him. He's laying over
here. Yeah, he's a golden retriever.
Yeah, he's like a golden collie.
Oh, cool. Very cute.
Yeah. So, you know, we just got him about 7 months ago. So yeah, just kind of enjoying being home, spending time with family, and you know, writing new music and doing all the things that I've been meaning to do. You know, the COVID pandemic kind of killed my business. Yeah. So I kind of you know, I had to dissolve everything with the state, but now I'm trying to get everything back up running.
Good.
There's a show coming up in Atlanta called 40 Fest in January. It's like lower class brats and more bands like that, but we're doing a lot of the shirts for the band.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
it's Vulture Press.
It's going pretty well.
Okay.
Other than the fact that, you know, so I'm really just kind of concentrating on my business, but back to, you know, the politics, it all comes back to politics. You know? But you know, there's a t-shirt shortage right now. It's hard to get like big black Gildans. I called the company. They're like,
really?
Yeah, they're all sitting on a barge off the coast of California to unload the ships, you know. So like, it's nuts, you know. But you know, things are going pretty well with the business, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on, and focus on my band, the Hanging Judge. So
cool.
Yeah. So, hey, so how's everything in Frederick up there, man? How's everything in Maryland as far as, you know, what we're talking about and
So,
everything.
Maryland, like DC. So I live like between DC and Baltimore.
Okay.
Baltimore is still, everybody's pretty much open, but it's still the mask mandates and everything is still mask mandated and vaccine, proof of vaccine.
Yeah.
I think DC just did away with the mask mandate.
Okay.
But there's still for venues proof of vaccine. But yeah, I mean,
It's
Maryland.
Yeah, just because I mean, we just got off a 45-day tour with the Queers, and like we were out in California and
Yeah.
Seattle, Portland, and we were all like, "Oh man, I don't know how this is gonna go."
Right.
But I remember like our first show in California in Sacramento. I mean, no one, everybody was, took their masks off by the time we were playing, and I mean, it was just nonstop. And even Portland was surprising. Seattle, very surprising. Surprisingly good. So yeah, I was just kind of curious, how things are going up.
Yeah, even the the auto bar in Baltimore when I saw Teenage Bottle Rocket, it's like everybody starts off with a mask, but after like their first beer, they take it off to drink it and they never put it back on. It's like, it's and nobody says anything.
I think a lot of people they've had the virus already, and
Right.
I mean, granted, yes, it is dangerous, and some people
Mhm.
are really suffering from it. It's contagious and all that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, some people have had. I had it, and
Okay.
I was sick for a week, and
Yeah.
I was okay after that. I don't know. Of course, I'm cautious, but I'm just not going to let it ruin my life.
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
totally.
But tomorrow I'm going to go see the Circle Jerks with
Nice.
and Municipal Waste, and
Very cool.
there's definitely a COVID policy there. It's an
Yeah.
app. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for taking the time out to do this, man. I really
No problem, man.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good
Yeah,
talking
and
to you.
have a good Christmas.
Thanks, you too, man. Take care.
All right. Yep. Later.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Give me coffee, I wake up before I go insane. Give me coffee.